Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon where I'll be talking about the movies, of course, TV shows, merchandising, I don't know, whatever the case may be. If it's related to Disney in any shape or form, then I'll be talking about it. So, of course, I'll be talking about another religious individual. Well, of course, again, it's more specifically about Frozen 2. I mean, okay, granted, this was not the only time I was talking about a religious person talking about Frozen in any shape or form. I have so many videos of this on my channel. It's absurd at this point. Anyway, according to this individual, there's some dark, deep secret within this film, within the confines of the story. And yes, of course, he's one of these Jesus individuals who wants to expose the truth about this movie. Why does everything have to be so depressing? I don't know. What's with the Christians have to be so depressing? I don't get it. What do you mean dark? What, Elsa's a vampire all this time? Well, actually, I would like to see that. He's a vampire. That'd be cool. Uh, well, it beats a lot of the remakes nowadays. By the way, folks, just putting this out there, I had to, of course, re-edit this video because, of course, YouTube, as usual, placed a copyright claim, well, a couple of them actually, on this video. So this took a while to put them back together again, so here you are. But the individual does use the whole idea where Elsa gets sacrificed, she dies, I guess, and she is resurrected, so to speak. And he thinks that this is supposed to have some direct correlations with Jesus' sacrifice, because he's claiming that Elsa is actually the serpent. Yeah, you heard me right. Apparently, she's a serpent in the story, apparently. Yes, that serpent from the Adam and Eve story, where the snake, or whatever you can call him, tricks Eve with the whole tree of knowledge, or whatever you can call it. And yes, apparently that's her. Before you ask, yes, this has something to do with her magical abilities. Her magical abilities is actually witchcraft, according to this individual, which, of course, makes no sense whatsoever. Oh yeah, and also I don't think this should be said because it should be obvious, it should be common sense. Do not go to any his YouTube channel to harass him. Okay, I'm disagreeing with everything, literally everything he said. I'm disagreeing with it, but don't go to his channel and harass him. Okay, I don't want nobody to be harassed. I'm just disagreeing with what he's saying about the movie. That's it. He's misinterpreting the movie. Obviously, he's what he's saying is wrong and utterly wrong. But I don't want anybody to go harass anyone. Okay. With that being said, let's get into it.
In Frozen 2, there are some striking similarities between Elsa and Jesus.
All right, we're not even 20 seconds into the video and you're already lying because there's nothing to support what you just said. Why did you pronounce her name as Elsa? You said it weird.
Elsa.
All right, let's just move on from that. That was weird. But, so are you telling me that Elsa is Jesus? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, she has power, sure, but still. I mean, Jesus did turn water into wine. That's powers, but people like this don't want to accept those powers. It's a miracle, even though they're both one and the same. But anyway,
Christ. And in this video, I'm going to be discussing those similarities and what they mean. But before I do that, I want to thank Little Light Studios for sponsoring this video. Little Light Studios.
oh my god, I don't care, don't care, don't care. Sponsored, blah 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 blah. Blah. Don't care, don't care, don't care. Oh yes, we all know how Satan is supposed to be deceitful. He's not honest. Of course, he wants to trick people. Quite obviously, as a lot of these people believe that the devil is a beautiful liar, and that's definitely the thing. Beauty, she's pretty. She's pretty. I mean, when I say she, I mean Elsa, of course. And put them as one and the same. She's a beautiful liar. And yes, this entire thing is just hinged on the fact that she has powers. She has powers. She has powers. She has powers. Just that, really. This entire thing is just based on that, really. And yes, of course, this individual is really trying to go on that how this fact that it isn't affecting people. And media, film itself, of course, can be used as a way to I guess, trick people, I suppose. And yes, he does give a shout out, by the way. Of course you do. And how media is being used in such a way, and I'm not going to subscribe to this channel. No way. Of course, the whole idea Elsa and the others had to go on this adventure, the whole thing with the enchanted forest, and Anna wants to be by her side no matter what, of course. They want to find the truth of what happened with their family tree, like their ancestors and whatnot, quite clearly. Jesus Christ, again, does everything have to be so damn gloom and doom with you people? I mean, holy shit. And this is coming from a guy who likes to watch horror movies. Yeah, me, I like horror movies. I watch horror movies all the goddamn time, but not even I would think everything's so depressing. It's so grim. Why bother getting up in the morning? We live in a society today. Not even I do that. One of my favorite genres is horror. Not even I have that mindset. Ugh. And why does everything have to be sinister? Why does everything have some secret, dark meaning? What?
Now back to the similarities between Elsa and Jesus Christ in Frozen 2. One of the most striking similarities between Elsa and Jesus Christ is that they both walk on water. When Elsa was crossing the sea to the island of Atohallen, her powers gave her the ability to walk on water. After Jesus sent his disciples out on a boat in the Sea of Galilee, Matthew chapter 14 verse 25 tells us, "Now in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking on the sea." Another
Oh boy, talk about forcing your belief system into a movie. That's what you're doing here. You're really forcing that into it. Okay, and then a lot of you Christians would complain, complain about the fact, oh no, the LGBT plus community of forcing their worldview into us. Stop shoving it out down our throat. When in reality, that's what you're doing. This proves it. It's what's called projection. Then you complain about someone else doing just that, what you're doing there. It. Okay, anyway, go on. It's so stupid. I mean, seriously, it's dumb.
similarity between Elsa and Jesus is that they both experienced a transfiguration. When Elsa was in Atohallen, she stepped onto a symbol on the ground and it transformed her and she became bright white. Even her hair and her clothes were transformed, whiter and brighter than usual. Jesus was transfigured in Matthew chapter 17 verses 1 through 2. It says, "Now after 6 days Jesus took Peter, James, and John his brother, led them up on a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light."
Yes, he's literally using Elsa's white dress as quote-unquote evidence. Are you serious?
Both Elsa and Jesus came back from the dead. In Frozen 2, Elsa basically freezes to death in Atohallen after learning the truth about King Runyard. And after freezing to death, her powers are then taken from the world, resulting in Olaf disintegrating. Then, after Anna destroys the dam...
I do find it weird that they keep mispronouncing these names. It's Anna, not Anna. Ah. Alright, that aside, oh, but what a way to glance over a lot of detail. There's like so much detail you just glanced over. It's like almost towards the end of the movie where Queen Anna practically died, and then her sister, Elsa's sister, had pretty much had to, Anna had to go through that bridge and have it be destroyed by those giant things, the giant rock monsters, I guess. But yes, typically Princess Anna is viewed as a cheerful type of character, and rightfully so. Which is why it was kind of shocking to say, "Oh, is she gonna get depressed? It's possible. Our main character can't get depressed, and she's ready to be consumed by darkness." Yeah, she felt all hope was lost. She pretty much was depressed when you think about it. She felt that, okay, I guess life is not worth it anymore. Not really. But then she learns that she has to pick herself up because it's the right thing to do. This does not mean that it's translating to the way of Jesus. I reckon you could say that Queen Elsa pretty much sacrificed herself when she got frozen, and a lot of people theorize she's technically dead. And then, of course, Jesus Christ himself sacrificed himself and he rose from the dead. And then there's the whole idea where Queen Elsa is actually really gentle with animals because she has this kindness inside of her. But then a lot of people say they're for connection, right? Because didn't Jesus love animals? I don't get any of this. This is way too vague. It's really vague. But then again, a lot of Christians out there will act just like this here.
I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved. It's the greatest experiment in the history of mankind. And if we come down to a civil war, I'm glad we got people like Schmitty and the Bikers for Trump on our side.
This is Ohio State Senator George Lang calling for a civil war if Trump loses the election. He later said he regrets making those remarks, but they aren't the first of their kind for MAGA Republicans. Recently, Trump himself said,
"If we don't win this election, we may never have another election. I'm telling you, this may be our last election."
And numerous politicians on the right have signaled they won't accept the election results if Trump doesn't win.
Yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president.
Other MAGA politicians and pundits have also suggested the possibility of a civil war.
We become totally unhinged if Donald Trump is not elected in November.
We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
I don't want a civil war. I don't want to have to draw my rifle. I want to make this problem go away with my legislative means of doing so.
Harris campaign spokesperson Amar Musa responded to Senator Lang's civil war prediction in a statement saying, "Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are running a campaign openly sowing hatred and promising revenge against their political opponents. It's a feature, not a bug, of their campaign and message to the American people. That's why a Republican official was empowered to predict a civil war while introducing these candidates."
Oh yeah, I feel so loved. If you Christians don't get what you want to overthrow the government. That's not how voting works, but okay.
In the Enchanted Forest, Elsa is frozen and comes back to life.
Okay, you pronounce Elsa in a weird way. You pronounce Elsa's name in a weird way, but okay, yes. Like I just said a moment ago, there was a fan theory she actually is dead. It's just her spirit that came back to the human world. But that could be like a whole separate video. But anyway, okay, she's died and supposedly came back to life. So I'm guessing that's supposed to be connected to Jesus, like I said a moment ago, but okay.
Jesus died on the cross for our sins and was raised the third day. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses 3 through 4 says, "For I delivered to you first of all that which I also received, that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the Scriptures. Both Elsa, and Jesus resurrected the dead."
You realize that's not really helping your case, right? You're making the Bible sound like a horror story, which in some ways it kind of is when you think about it. Okay, let me scratch that. In a lot of ways, it is a horror story. In a lot of ways, a lot of this stuff can be taken as a horror type of thing. It sounds like a zombie. So he's a zombie kind of a thing, but okay. So yeah, the picture you see in front of you, that is in the Bible, by the way. So the dead rose from the ground and whatnot, but okay.
In Frozen 2, after Elsa comes back to life, she brings Olaf back to life. Jesus resurrected people during his ministry, including the young man from Nain, the daughter of Jared.
Under your theology, the God of the universe created all of us, put two innocent individuals into a garden and told them not to do the very thing that he knew they were going to do and needed to know ahead of time, and then punished them.
And Lazarus. In addition, Elsa has the power to create life as well, since she created Olaf in the first Frozen movie. And Jesus is the creator of
for something that they couldn't possibly have known was wrong, and then punished all of their descendants through inherited sin, and then killed everybody off because they still wouldn't love him, and then tormented them.
Of the world according to John chapter 1 verse 3, which says, "All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made." Also, Elsa is one of a kind in the sense that she has ice powers that no one else has in the movie.
And then picked out the Jews as his favorite, and then let them continue to be barbarians who he told to go out and slaughter the Midianites and slaughter the Amalekites.
Jesus is one of a kind in the sense that he lived a sinless life, 1 Peter chapter 2 verses
to where there was no trace left, led the charge against everybody who didn't have chariots of iron as the warmongering piece of shit head barbarian that he was, until a couple of thousand years later, he turns over a new leaf and says, you know what, I'm going to come down and take human form and sacrifice myself to serve as an excuse and a loophole for rules that I make so that I can finally find it in my heart to forgive the people that I made broken.
21 through 22 says, "For to this you were called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps, who committed no sin, nor was deceit found in his mouth." Another similarity between Elza and Jesus is that they are both a spirit and a person. There are 4 elemental spirits identified in Frozen 2, which includes the earth spirit, the air spirit, the fire spirit,
and then they're going to sit there and embarrassingly not represent the truth of the book or what I've said. They're going to sit there and tap dance, and when asked a simple question about who made humans, they're going to say God is still making humans. You, sir, should be absolutely fucking embarrassed.
The water spirit. And ultimately, Elza is identified as the 5th spirit, which is not associated with an element in and of itself, but gives Elza special abilities. Jesus is both a spirit and a person, in the sense that he is both God and human. John chapter 4 verse 24 says, "God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." So what do these similarities between Elza and Jesus mean?
I'm asking you, do you really know? Do you know where you come from and where you go? Hello? You don't know? No. You can bullshit yourself. I came from heaven, I'm going back to heaven. If you're so sure that you're going back to heaven, why don't you go today? If you knew that you are going to a better place than here, why don't you go?
I'm of the opinion that these similarities serve the purpose of subconsciously perverting the character of Jesus in the minds of young viewers. Some of you may be saying, that's impossible, it's just an animated Disney movie. But is it far-fetched to believe that the devil can and will use movies like this in an attempt to pervert the minds of young people? Not at all, because the devil knows that he will gain a stronger hold on the minds of people if he can gain access to their minds at a young age. Don't think the devil has sympathy for our children or that our children are off limits to the devil because they are young and innocent.
This is the greatest crime upon humanity, that we told people there is a better place than this. This is a crime, because this is not allowing human beings to live their life to their full depth and dimension, because they think the real life is elsewhere. Now, do you have any proof that you are not already in heaven and making a mess out of it? Do you have any proof?
None. Oh, of course, thing of the children argument is being used here. Well, yes, kids don't know better. Well, kids do have a sense of naiveness, because they do. That doesn't necessarily mean they're stupid by any means. And the thing is that this is manipulative anyway, because of course he's trying to say all things through Christ is all great and fat and dandy, which is a lie, because it really isn't. Seems rather contradictory, but okay.
He knows that they are impressionable, and so he constantly bombards them with anti-Christian sentiments and temptations to lead them away from God. And how the devil can use Elza to pervert the minds of young viewers about the character of Jesus is that she has a lot of similar qualities to Jesus, but at the same time she's involved in witchcraft. The concept of the four—
What do you mean trying to pervert the young viewers' minds? This is not exactly a kid's movie, it's more of a family movie. Yes, there's a difference, because there are moments that are too dark for little kids, that's true, but that still doesn't mean what you're talking about. Of course, he's glancing over a lot of the context of what's going on in the film, and there's some kind of connection, because Jesus and I guess I was going to do supernatural stuff.
Elemental spirits is an occult concept that is an important part of witchcraft. I talked about this in my last video about Frozen 2, but in case you missed it, An online post entitled The Four Classical Elements by LearnedReligions.com states, in many modern-day pagan belief systems, there is a good deal of focus on the four elements of earth, air, fire, and water. A few traditions of Wicca also include a fifth element, which is spirit or self. Elsa is identified as the fifth element or spirit in Frozen 2.
Another thing I don't understand is that, of course, people like this really do attempt to make pagans out to be the worst possible people. Do you realize this kind of attitude is why a lot of the pagans branched out and wanted to do their own, I guess you can say, belief system and whatnot, as they should if they want to, I guess. But you're very close-minded. Again, you glancing over a lot of stuff what they actually do.
But that is not universal among all pagan paths. The four elemental spirits are invoked by witches during rituals and when casting spells. An online post entitled Elemental Witch by wisewitchesandwitchcraft.com states, the elements are not spirits who can be ordered around casually. In ritual and spell contexts, the elemental witch makes a request rather than a demand for assistance. And in so doing, he or she has to be prepared for the answer to be no. Certainly, such a response is disappointing, but an elemental spirit has reasons for such decisions, which the elemental witch must respect.
For further context, a lot of these Christians, the vast majority of them anyway, do believe witches are real. Yeah, they actually believe witches are real. Therefore, those witchcraft in this movie, again, newsflash, there's no such thing as witches. There's no zombies. Yes, they actually believe in zombies, by the way, and they also believe in vampires as well. None of these things are true, by the way. Okay, again, you keep glancing stuff over. After discovering the truth of what happened to their parents, let's just say it was not a pretty sight. Queen Elsa felt incredibly guilty because she felt that she was responsible for their parents' death, considering the fact that the parents were trying to find the whole origin story of Queen Elsa's powers. And of course, as the loving sister that she is, Princess Anna does attempt to comfort her no matter what, because she wants to be there for her. She wants to make sure that she's in a safe place, mentally speaking. It's not her fault. She didn't make them go out there, of course, to do this kind of thing, but nevertheless, Queen Elsa still feels bad, and she understands that her sister wants to be here for her. And the thing is that she wants to do something alone. Queen Elsa knows that she has to do something by herself, and she realizes she has to send her sister away. It must be done. Where she's going is too dangerous. She can't. She tells Olaf and Anna to come in for a hug, but this is intentionally misleading because, as it turns out, this was a trick. From this point onward, she uses her ice powers as a way to trick Anna because she puts Olaf and Princess Anna gets sent away in this little boat thing. What I'm trying to say is that this individual does not like the fact that magic is being persisted in a positive way. So of course, the context of these scenes are totally dismissed, and he comes up with his own thing. Clearly, Anna wants to stay, but she gets angry at the fact that she gets pushed away, quite literally, I guess you can say. But she wants to be by her side through thick and thin, but Elsa does not want her to die. But again, like I was saying, a lot of this is getting taken out of context. This presents magic in a positive way, which of course a lot of these Christians don't want.
Frozen 2, Elsa accomplishes her mission with the aid of the elemental spirits. This is witchcraft. There are no elemental spirits according to the Bible. Just God and his angels, which are good spirits, and Satan and his angels, which are evil spirits.
Another thing that was glanced over was the fact that their parents mentioned the whole enchanted forest when they were little. This hints at what's going to happen later on when they're older. They actually went to the enchanted forest. Her father, or excuse me, their father, I should say, actually went there with the whole thing with the mother and all that jazz. So this enchanted forest actually proved to be an important part of the story. But of course, this individual doesn't mention any of this whatsoever.
And the Bible tells us that Satan has the ability to transform himself to deceive people. 2 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 14 says, "And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into an angel of light." Therefore, the elemental spirits in the occult are really nothing more than Satan and his angels who take on the appearance of nature's spirits to lead people into false worship.
Why would Satan torture and burn people for disobeying the same God he disobeyed?
Listen, that brother brought out a great point. What y'all learning in church isn't in the Bible. In fact, the logic that y'all believe in is contradictive to itself. If Satan is against God, and then if you die being against God in your life and you go with Satan in hell, why is Satan then punishing you? That don't make no damn sense. Learn the truth here at the ISUPK. We ain't gonna lie to you, man.
In addition, Elza is identified as the fifth elemental spirit, and the fifth elemental spirit is superior to the first four elemental spirits, at least according to traditional Western occult theory. An online post entitled "The 5 Elemental Symbols of Fire, Water, Air, Earth, Spirit" by learningreligion.com states, "In traditional Western occult theory, the elements are hierarchical: spirit, fire, air, water, and earth, with the first elements being more spiritual and perfect, and the last elements being more material and base. Some modern systems, such as Wicca..."
None of this makes any sense because, again, like I was saying earlier, they view magic as something evil, when in reality it really isn't. It doesn't depend on how it's used. But of course, they don't want to play the card that would contradict what they would believe in. But okay. There's no proof to any of this. He's trying to act as if there's connections to the Bible, to the political teachings, to the movie, when in reality, again, there isn't any.
The elements as equal. So if we take the Western occult approach to classifying the 5 elemental spirits, which are just demons in disguise, and the 5th elemental spirit is the most superior, which Elza is portrayed as in Frozen 2, what does that make the 5th elemental spirit? Or allow me to reword this in a way that may be easier to understand. Who is the most superior fallen angel? It's Satan. Therefore, who does Elza really represent in Frozen 2?
Okay, again, it's pronounced Elsa, not Elza. Another thing is that she does not represent Satan, Lucifer, the devil, however you want to say his name. And also, she does not represent God either. I guess in this case, Jesus. Because some people believe that God is Jesus, Jesus is God, but in other stories, there are two different identities. Anyway, that's besides the point because she doesn't represent any of this in any shape or form at all.
She represents Satan.
Oh yeah, plug in your merch. That's what this is all about. Just so your merch can be sold. And of course, again, that's a lie. She's not connected to Satanism at all. She's not satanic. Of course, he's taking the fact that she has all these abilities as an insult. Oh, what are you trying to say? She's more powerful than Jesus? Like Satan or Lucifer or whatever took challenge to God? Again, none of this makes any sense at all. It's what?
So what it comes down to in Frozen 2 is we have this character, Elza, who has all of these similarities to Jesus Christ. She walked on water, was transfigured, died and came back to life, resurrected the dead, and is both a spirit and a person. But in addition to that, she is involved in witchcraft.
Since when? Seriously, since when? You still haven't provided any evidence to back up your claim whatsoever. Jesus himself performed the miracles. How is that not magic? Jesus himself rose from the dead, as mentioned by you. How is that not magic? God poofed everything into existence. Again, how is that not magic? He worded it in everything into existence. What?
Virtue of her relationship with the 4 elemental spirits, and she is identified as the 5th spirit herself, which is basically Satan. So what is this doing in the minds of young viewers? Not only is it endorsing occult practices, but it's also subliminally sending children mixed messages about the character of the Messiah and attributing qualities of Christ to the devil. Not surprising, really. The devil was cast out.
Okay, bottom line here, as if it wasn't obvious enough, he doesn't like the fact that magic itself is being presented in a good way. He wants magic to be presented in a bad way, despite the fact, again, in the Bible itself, there's magic everywhere. Moses uh, witnessed magic with a burning bush. How is that not magical? How is that not spells? Oh boy, this makes no sense again.
Heaven because he wanted God's position and power. Isaiah chapter 14 verses 12 through 15 says, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning! How you are cut down to the ground, you who weakened the nations! For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to the lowest depths of the pit." Now, since
I could use your own Bible against your statements because didn't Moses turn his staff into a snake or two? Well, something like that. I know it had something to do with at least one snake. Didn't he turn his staff to a snake? Isn't that not magical? That was magical. It really was. And didn't God supernaturally flood the entire world with Noah and the whole ark thing? How was that not magical, really?
the devil has been cast out of heaven, do you think he has ceased his rebellion against God? Of course not. He still wants to be exalted as God in the minds of men. And one way he goes about doing this is by corrupting the minds of the youth through movies like Frozen.
Again, lying, and nothing but lies. Yes, film can be a powerful thing, but still.
2, by subliminal messages that attribute the characteristics of Christ to himself. Do you think the devil uses movies like Frozen 2 to corrupt the minds of young?
You're just creating a non-existent problem and you desperately want people to believe that it's there. I've been down this road multiple times with Christians. They do the same exact thing over and over and over again. You just presented it in a somewhat different way. I've heard this kind of thing before because a lot of these Christians really despise the fact that she has powers. Because apparently the only person that should have powers would be Jesus and God. That's it. Alright, this is pretty much where his video ends, and he just wants people to subscribe to his channel. Well, I'm not going to do that. You don't tell me what to do. And again, what are you talking about? Seriously, what are you talking about? None of this makes any sense whatsoever. It just seems rather odd that you just jump to conclusions into something that doesn't clearly exist whatsoever. Again, I don't care if he likes the movie. That's besides the point, really. I mean, yes, I like Frozen 2. I really enjoyed it. I like the first one as well. But again, that's besides the point. Whether I'm a fan of this or not isn't the point of this video. The point here, he's intentionally misrepresenting what's going on in the movie, which a lot of these Christians tend to do, trying to just hammer in what's going on, what they think is going on within stories. But in reality, the Bible, they keep preaching us peace for one, is really horrifying when you think about it. And it doesn't quite add up because they claim to be, oh yeah, we're not going to be judgmental, which they are. And they claim that their version is the absolute truth, which is a lie because there's no way of them knowing, which I guess technically do because a lot of the stuff in the Bible contradicts itself and the other version of the Bible. The Bible itself has been rewritten multiple times over the years. And those prove that it has been rewritten multiple times. Like I said before, this could have easily been a horror story. There's like so much torture and death in here, folks, and whatnot. That's in the Bible. And you could easily make this a horror story. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing a princess movie being inspired by the Bible in the sense that you're going to turn into a spooky horror movie. Yeah, I'll see that. Sure, I'll watch it if you put it in a horror fashion. Of course, I mean, the elements are there. I mean, you think the elements are actually there, really? I mean, think about it. So, if there's anybody that wants to make movies for a living, well, here's some material for you. You can do. You can use if you want. I say go for it. Yeah, like I said, the elements are there. You can use it for like a spooky, scary story. That'd be way more interesting than just remaking something. Why not do a horror story with a princess, I guess, that has magical powers, and use maybe a story or two from the Bible. I guess it's possible. All right. I'm going off on a tangent here. Okay, I mentioned this before, way earlier in the video, sure, but it's just that these people just tend to exaggerate what's going on because what's going on in the story versus what's going on in their head are two separate things. Yes, I realize that the Bible is meant to be viewed as a peaceful, loving guidebook for the righteous. But in reality, what's the contents in the Bible contradicts this message when you think about it. Appealing to a tradition is in itself a logical fallacy, which they want. They want to go back in the day, like the 1950s and whatnot, because apparently that's where everything was so fantastic and wonderful in the United States of America, which in itself is a lie. But anyway, there's plenty of really horrific things in the Bible itself. There's lots of horrific things when you think about it. Henceforth, I keep saying this could easily be a horror thing. I keep saying since the beginning of the video. You can actually do that if you wanted to. It turn it into like a horror type of thing. But anyway, point being, just keeps going on the whole idea. I know I keep hammering the idea that the what's supposed to be believe the Bible is supposed to be this great divine magical wonderful thing when in reality it really isn't. It's horrific. It's it's downright psychotic when you think about it. There's lots of stuff. I could easily make an entire video talking about the awful stuff in the Bible. Even though it's supposed to be viewed as a loving, peaceful, caring thing, when in reality is the exact opposite. Again, God himself murdered a lot of people. And it's justified because he's God. Yeah, a lot. I've heard arguments to support. Well, Alvarez and I heard arguments that a lot of these Christians are perfectly okay with God killing everybody because God said so. Yes, this goes with torture as well. Even though a lot of Christians will say that the Bible condemns torture, when in reality it actually supports it. So, okay, yes, I'm kind of using this as a way to sneak something about horror stories because I like Halloween anyway, so it is pardon me on that to some extent. But it does prove a point that there's so much of this within the Bible. I mean, I'm not going to really go into a whole lot here because this video is already lengthy as it is. I never bring some examples like in a screen like right here, like I've been doing anyway. But yeah, there's quite a bit of this in the Bible. Yet I'm supposed to be feeling inspired. Yet I'm supposed to feel like I'm loved. All of this is doing the exact opposite. It's just fear mongering to the highest order and whatnot. So it just goes into what I've said multiple times in various other videos where I'll explain that it's just about control and that's it. This is not how you should control people, but they know what they're doing. A lot of these religious people aren't that stupid. I mean, there are stupid religious people out there, sure, but there are some that are intelligent enough to realize what they're doing, of course. Yes, there's even slavery in the Bible. I mean, in some versions of the Bible, it condones slavery, but so this kind of goes into which version of it. I mean, it still proves my point because there shouldn't be multiple different versions of the Bible to begin with. If God exists, like these people claim that he does, shouldn't he come down and correct everything? In that case, why hasn't he? I mean, there's multiple explanations to excuse his absence, of course, which I don't really want to get into really because that could be deserve its own video. Because there's been so many excuses as to why Jesus, God, whoever hasn't showed up yet. That's not really the point of this video anyway. Because I'm trying to explain that there shouldn't be multiple different versions of the Bible to begin with. If you believe that this is the divine word of God, so that contradicts the idea that there's multiple different versions. So in that case, why are there multiple different versions? And a lot of this stuff is used to carry out horrific stuff. And yes, they would use it as a way to justify what they were doing. What I'm saying here is that stories can be twisted, stories can be changed. for whatever person who's looking into this. Yes, obviously that has happened over the age with the Bible. It's supposed to fit in whatever who is writing it. And that's the thing, though. How am I supposed to trust the source material when said source material has been manipulated in so many different directions just to fit the agenda of the individual who's doing the twisting around? Yes, it be considered collecting as myths, which technically it is when you think about it, but okay. Okay, what about the people who refuse to marry or even date, actually? Maybe just dating. Not everybody is suited for dating, which I'll get back to in just a minute. Okay, or even marriage. Okay, like I said, okay, let's talk about the whole marriage bit first. Okay, it's for the people who don't want to want to have marriage ever. So does that mean they should be tortured? Does that mean they should be beaten to halfway to death? And the people who refuse to just date at all, should they get tortured as well? Should they be beaten halfway to death? Should like get should they get their fingers cut off or just some fingers? Just three fingers? I know a lot of these Christians seem to be really precise on numbers for some reason. Seems kind of weird when you think about it. But anyway, like the top 10, like the 10 commandments, yeah, why not 11? Why not 10? Okay, I'm going a bit off topic here, but point being is that not everybody wants to have a relationship. Not everyone should have a relationship and be forced to do it. If they don't want to, they don't want to. So should they be tortured? Okay, the one of the things I wanted to get to a moment ago was that okay, what if they are interested in dating somebody, but maybe a man or a woman refuses to date, let's say, a religious person. They don't want to date anybody religious. It doesn't matter if it's Jehovah's Witnesses. It doesn't matter if it's Christian conservatives, or what have you. They just absolutely refuse to date anybody that's religious. Yes, because of the fact that they're religious. It's their right. Everyone has the right to have a preference. It's on them. Just like everyone else, just like how people will only date religious people. That's your right. You can do that if you want to, but that doesn't mean you should force everyone else to be converted into the life that you deem necessary. Does this mean the person should be beaten, of course, until they have a black eye? I guess. So does this mean they should have their ears cut off because of that? This seems really odd, seems really cruel just for this to happen. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you think about it, but there you go, I reckon. All right, folks. Yes, I know I'm going on well, baby, and I should just wrap it up already because there's just so much of this you could get through, of course. And as if it wasn't obvious enough, just because Elsa is sweet, just because Elsa's kind, which she should be, because she's the main character. Of course, she's gonna be understanding. Of course, she's gonna be an emotion more person. But that's usually something that's tied to women. Women tend to be the more emotional type of people, which is fine. That's how they are. That's how women are. That's not to bring shame to them. That's just how they're made. Women tend to be more understanding. Women tend to be more, I guess, caring. It's not that the man couldn't, of course. Men can do that, of course. It's just that men and women are built differently, which in itself doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Men are built to be stronger and whatnot, and women tend to be really fast too when you think about it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that those pros and cons to both genders. It's just how you were built. That's all. It's just how it is. This doesn't mean that there's a divine interference whatsoever. Just because Elsa is sweet and kind and all that jazz, and yes, women tend to be very caring, well, at least most of the time anyway. There are exceptions to the rule, of course, obviously. Anyway, point being is that, of course, Elsa is going to be sweet. Of course, she's going to be very compassionate, which all of which is usually character traits of a woman, and she's a woman. So of course these kinds of things are going to be attached to her. She's going to be graceful. This doesn't mean she's being like the definition of misleading. She's not trying to mislead anybody. She's not secretly evil just because she has all these powers. That's what this individual is trying to do. Just because she has these powers somehow means she's being deceitful. She's really Satan, like the whole snake thing in the Garden of Eden. That's pretty much what he's trying to use as a metaphor. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you later.